Welcome to Sanmoon. Today, in this session, we are going to discuss about two things, the most important topics of the Angular. The first thing is how to apply the CSS, and the second thing will be how we can use the text box or checkbox kind of control tags. From there, how to read the values and get into the program, get into our own methods. That is the most important topics of Angular, and that's what we are going to discuss today. So if you are new for these videos, please subscribe our channel and please go through the previous videos so that you'll able to understand what we are discussing today, and they are all continuous sessions. Okay, let us start. So as we know, we are actually taking the example my component in this case. So my component is having 4 files. One is TS file, my component.ts, my component.html, my component.css. So currently we are using CSS way of applying the CSS. So there are a lot more different ways we can able to apply the CSS. In the later sessions, we can discuss about it like SCSS, less way of doing it. Currently it is CSS. So CSS means it's a basic fundamental CSS. Okay, so but it is specific to the component. So how to apply that? So we know that in the HTML currently we have the button. Let me just create one input type text and placeholder type something. When I save this, I can able to see one input box in the browser. Let us see. So in the browser, we can able to see one text box appeared. Now, you observe that it's always in the left top corner. So I wanted to make this particular alignment into the center. So let me just add one more thing here. I wanted to just add one label. The label is a container tag. The label I can say type something. So I can see that type something which is in the left side and text box in the right side. Now I wanted to make sure that this should be having inside one container tag. In this case, I can able to use the div over here. So if you see there, this is the most important thing which we need to understand. We have to make sure each and everything should be properly created, because the HTML having the facility where each and everything can be kept in a container tag. So the container tag is just a placeholder where we can apply CSS or various things. We can able to use this kind of container tags. It won't give out output, but this will be the very important thing where we can able to use for the application of the CSS or anything else like JavaScript or pipes, or you wanted to put conditional statement. So many things we can able to do. So all we need to do is understand why I have been added this container tag over here. So now let us understand here. I have just added one container tag here. I'll just put this particular tag as class, and I'll add one class which is named as a control. So the class is a CSS class in this case, and we use this particular class and then try to apply the CSS. So let me show this in the browser. I did not able to observe any different output the moment I add the CSS class. So because CSS class is just a placeholder again, and we can able to use the CSS class name to apply the CSS. Now before going to apply the CSS to the CSS class, we can able to use the developer tools and apply the CSS with the usage of developer tools, and then use that CSS properties and apply permanently. That's how we generally do. So let me open the developer tools here by inspecting Now if you observe here, I can able to see the particular tags or HTML elements here with a control class, and I can able to select that, and in the element style I can able to apply the CSS whatever I want. Now let me add the CSS properties. Currently I would like to use the display flex, and then flex direction column. If you just observe that, I can able to use the display and display flex. The moment I use display flex, this particular control, inside the control, whatever the items we are having, these two items become the flex elements, and I can able to control with the other flex related properties like flex direction, align items. These kind of properties can be able to apply, and I can able to control the alignments of the elements. That is the most important thing what we need to understand here, and this is the currently we are using flex extensively. So let's understand this. Okay, so now since I've been added flex direction column, you can see the items are spanned like a column. That means one by one. If I made this as a row, then you see that is how it should be. It will be spanned particular items inside the flex. It will be spanned like a row, like side by side. So that's what we need to observe. Like that, there are so many other properties were there in this. We'll come back to that. As of now, we made it as a column, and we'll try to continue this session. And I wanted to use this particular properties permanently because the developer tools always help us to update the CSS, but it will be not permanent. If you refresh it, okay, all your CSS things will be removed from the developer tool. So we can use the developer tool for a temporary purpose. That means we can able to observe how it appears. Then we can go to our own component and apply the same properties so that it will become a permanent. Now I've been copied the properties and go to the component. I can able to go to the CSS file of it and try to add the class. Class always starts from the dot. So what is the class name here? It's a control is the class name, and I can able to paste our properties which is copied from the developer tool and save it. The moment I do this, automatically the CSS will be applied permanently, and I can able to see that particular class is appearing here. So that is how it should be, and you can able to repeat the same thing. And I wanted to this is the control container tag. I would like to add one more container which is form. So I wanted to use this form container because this is a form which we are building, and I'm going to put it there inside the form. So let me save this and observe here, and I can able to apply the, since it's 100% width, I would like to reduce the width to some extent so that it will become a little bit good for the looking, because CSS is always we have to apply some look and feel to the particular form, and I would like to make this particular container which is form container also a flex, and I wanted to make it center. So the moment I made it as a center, you can observe that the items were become center. So even though I've not applied the width, by default width will be 100%, but still if you observe that a particular elements are become automatic center. So you need to understand that thing. Okay, now let me copy this and observe here. I'm just using the class form. I need to create the form in the CSS and try to paste the particular properties. Now you can observe that the particular control is in the center line, and it's no matter where which big screen it is, it's automatically center line. That's what we need to observe. Now let me create one more control. Control is nothing but the input what we are following there. and I wanted to make it a little bit meaningful in this case, so make it name. So placeholder will be enter your name, and one more label is email. Placeholder will be enter your email. Now let's understand over there. By default, if you see that a particular display will be always row actually, so we wanted to change that again. We can just select that particular form, which is a container, and change the flex direction as column. So if you change the flex direction as column, you can able to understand that the particular elements are span across like a column. And one more property I'm going to introduce here for the flex, which is having a gap. The gap will give the items between the items gap actually. So I wanted to put 1 pixel or any number of pixels if you wanted to put it. If you observe there, the gap will be produced and each and every control is a element now for this particular container, so the gap can be placed with all the elements. So all these very much good properties are available for the flex, and these are very handy. I'm just copying that entire CSS again. I can go to the component and I'm pasting it. This is the best practice which I'm showing there. So generally we can able to tell here itself, but it cannot be understandable. But you can utilize the developer tool when we are developing the CSS. It's very handy, and it's most important thing we need to get hands-on also. And also there are so much suggestions, and graphically the representation of the flex and all these things are available. You can able to utilize it, and we can talk about more about the flex and things like that in the later sessions. But yes, we can observe here how I am just making the CSS for the components and how it is actually appearing. That is the most important thing for us. Now let's change a little bit of labels CSS. Let me just select the label over there and apply the font size, which is 25 pixel, and I wanted to apply the font size for all the labels inside the particular control. For that, how we can do, I just wanted to be like this. If you wanted to change the sizes, you can change it. If you just change it here with the size, you can able to observe that how much size you wanted to change, that you can observe, and then take that and copy the particular property. And for what you wanted to apply, the most important thing, you wanted to apply inside the control the label only. So inside the control there is a element called label. You wanted to apply to that. So how we need to apply there? You just go to the CSS and write control space label. Space means you need to understand that control is the parent and label is the children inside that. That's how it should be, and you apply it. So this is how you need to write. You don't need to write a one more class for it if you wanted to specifically talk about it for the particular element, and the particular element is a different element because we have input and label, two elements are there in the control. So you can directly use the tag, and while we are using the tag, you don't need to put dot or hash whatever, because the tag name can be used directly. But you need to observe that you need to have the space here. Space means control is a parent and label is a children for it. So HTML always produces the parent and children relationship only. So here this control is the parent and label is the children. That's why the particular CSS will apply this combination of hierarchy only. Now, if you observe that all the controls has been applied with a similar CSS, and I wanted to change the text boxes also a little bit of some coloring, so I selected that. That means I'm inspecting it again and again what element I wanted to update. I'm inspecting it by clicking on this particular inspect element button, and I'm clicking on the button again, and I can able to choose the style, and in the style element style is the one which we can able to generally type and understand how it is appears. Then take that particular properties and copy it to the actual CSS file, actually CSS class. Now let me put some more width over there. And observe that the width will be always whatever the width you want it to be. You can use the arrow buttons in the keyboard and you can able to update the width. Let me put 245 pixel, and then height also you can able to add here. Observe the little bit of height has been added, and also we can update the font sizes. Little bit of font size. And padding means in between, inside the space. To observe that particular padding you can able to observe here, and you add the border. I want solid border, but I can able to have one little bit different color. I can use the color picker here, and I want it to be like this. Now if you observe here, my text box got like this, and I want it to be like this in my form. So I can able to design the CSS input elements and properties like this, and I copy that particular thing. And here in this case I wanted to apply this particular CSS to the input element, not label but input. Inside the control I wanted to apply the CSS to the input element. So what I have to do for that, I can go here, I can create one more class which is control space input and apply to that. Now if you observe inside the form, all the elements will become the same CSS properties applied, and it will be very look and feel will be applied uniformly. So this is the most important thing, and like that you can able to do whatever however you wanted to apply. The developer tools will be help us to do that and copy that, and properly you can paste it into the CSS, and CSS file will be there on, and it will be only accessible to the particular HTML. We have been given that binding over here already. So app component will actually importing the style URLs. One of the style is CSS. So it will be applied only to this component. So we no need to worry that if anything it will be missed and it will be applied to another component. That cannot be happened. Now let's add one more button. A button I wanted to add over there. So I can able to use the same control if you want, and I can use the button and click make. So let's observe how the button will be. It's like this. So I wanted to change the button, so I inspected it. I can apply the width, or I can simply add the class which is having a control, and I can able to update whatever is there for the label, because the label and the input boxes width and height will be there. I can copy the width and height of the input boxes, and I would like to apply the same width and height to the button as well. So it looks like that. Let me just change it if you wanted to change, because it should be uniform across, and also the height, because the padding is the thing which is actually affecting the width and height as well. But yeah, we can able to adjust that. And also you can wanted to change the font size of the button, because the inside font size you wanted to change, you can add it. And also the color, background color, if you wanted to change, you can change it using the developer tools, whatever you wanted to change. And also color means the text color. If you wanted to change it, you can change it like that. So if you observe that the button will be customized, and I can able to see the button which is my own way rather than the default button, right? So this is the most important thing. Always we wanted to change our own way of controls in our application. So this is the most important thing. Let me apply the same thing. So it's again under the control but to the button. So how we can do it? I just copied that and go to the CSS, and I can able to create control and add the button, and this is the class you need to add it and update your CSS. Now observe here. So this is how we can able to update our CSS to the component elements, and it's very much handy and it's very much easy. But it's all so many properties and things were there. We will talk about later. That is how we can able to apply the CSS. So I'm stopping the CSS thing here. Now let's observe if someone is entered something in the text box and clicking on the button, how to get that particular values to the TS file. That means my own method, so that I can use that particular value which user is entered into my program. So I wanted to use into my program whatever user given input. So for that, what you need to do, that is the topic I wanted to go into. For that, we are going to use, there are different ways we can use it in Angular, but currently I'm using very simple way, which is NGModel way. So NGModel way, how to bring my text box input value into the method. That's what we are going to see in this particular session. So let me go to the TS file, and I would like to create one method for it, because I need a method here. When we click on the button, I wanted to call this method. So I just created one method which is call me, and I will add one console here to understand that. Added one message to the console. Let me bind this method call me method to the button. So I go to the HTML, and inside the button I'm adding the click is equal to call me. So if you see that, if you click anyone on the click me, call me method will be called, and the call me method, whatever the statements have been written here, that will be executed. So let's see that first. I'm going to the console because I would like to see the call me executed message is appeared. And okay, now how to, if someone typed something here, I wanted to read this information to my program, that means in my method, how to do that? For that, we are going to use NGModel. So NGModel is the most important thing in Angular, and let's observe that NGModel, how to use it. So for that, first we need to understand how many controls are there. For that, we need an instance variable. So I'm going to create for name and email 2 instance variables. Instance variable means class level variables. I'm just creating name, and I'm going to create email. So 2 variables I'm going to create here, and each and every variable data type should be there. So for now I'm just keeping any. So colon and data type string number, whatever you wanted to use, you can use it. For now I just made it as any because we wanted to concentrate NGModel. So name and email, both instance variables are there. Now I wanted to show the values of name and email in the click me method. So let me just print it here what is there in the name, and to display that we have to use always this dot name, because that is class level variables or instance variables. So whenever you wanted to use class level variables or instance variables, we always use this. That may be a method. If you wanted to call also, we use this. If you wanted to use the variable also, we use this keyword. That's the most important thing we need to observe here. And since this is an instance variable, we always use this keyword and try to add the name of the variable here, so that when anyone clicks on the button, this method will be executed and it will show you what is there in the name and email. Let me just save it, and currently what is there in this particular name and email, let's observe. So when you click on the method, if you see there, by default undefined will be there. Okay, so undefined will be there in the name, and undefined is there in the email as well. So how to get that value, that's the most important thing. The default values will be undefined. But yeah, to bind this name variable to the control tag, that means one of the input tag, if I wanted to bind, I will use the NGModel. So NGModel is the way we need to use NGModel is, we need to use this kind of brackets. One array bracket we have to start, and then the normal parenthesis bracket we have to start, and write NGModel and is equal to the variable name we wanted to bind with, that name you have to keep it there. So NGModel inside the text boxes only. That means always you need to apply NGModel to only control tags like text boxes, select boxes, radio button. So if you wanted to apply the NGModel, always NGModel can be able to apply to the only control tags. That means text boxes, radio buttons, select boxes, only like that. So let me show here the text box have been uses here. So for the only text box element, we have to use NGModel. If use into the label or div, it will throw error. So that is the most important thing we need to understand. So NGModel, this is the syntax we have to use, and the name of the variable name here, the name is the variable name which we declared in the component, that we have to use it here, and then let us see will that be working or not. The moment I save it, you can observe there are some errors. So this is the most important thing. It will actually tell us NGModel, since it is not known property of input, can't bind to NGModel. Why? Because if you wanted to use NGModel, we need to update one module in our component. So let us go to the module, app module, and we need to import one module which is called forms module. If there is no forms module in your application, NGModel cannot be used. So for that, what we need to do, we need to import the forms module into the application, and then go to your component, and wherever in this application, entire application, because the app module is the common module, and whatever you imported here, it will be applied to the entire application. So I just wanted to use the forms module. So the moment I use forms module, okay, you have to import that. Let me import it. If you just add this forms module, and you need to observe here, I'm just using imports mechanism here. The imports mechanism only, we have to import the module. There are declarations only for the component purpose, and there are providers for the service purpose, like that. There are so many things will be there in this. We need to understand that imports only have to use for the module. So forms module has been registered in the app module, and then if you save it, you can understand that it is succeeded now. The compilation is success. Now let's observe in the browser. Let me clear the console, and I'm entering my name and clicking on it. If you observe that my name has been updated to the variable. So this is how we need to get the value to the particular method. Let's add the email also. So go to the HTML, go to the control, and NGModel is equal to email. So always remember how many variables you wanted to use, you can use it. NGModel is the one which is very important thing, and we can use only for the control tags, and the values whatever you bind, which is a data variable, whatever user types here, it will be automatically assigned to the variable, and it is available over there, and I can able to use anywhere in my class. So you can able to observe here, I'm just using name and email as it is, but this method is executing at the time of button click, so that this method is executing at that particular time what is the name and email available. Since the NGModel is already added whatever the user type value to the name, it's directly appearing there. So that is what we need to understand here. Let's observe that. So if you observe there, Prasad and email prasad@sanmoon.com has been updated. So this is how we need to get the values, and this can be able to add in each and every control tags. For now, I'm just used here the text box. You can able to add for the number or password or select boxes, radio buttons, check boxes, whatever the control tags are available. We can use the NGModel and get the value to the method, so that you can use wherever you want inside the method in your program. So I'm stopping the session here. We're going to talk about more about this particular NGModel with the different control tags, and also the application and why we are using and how many ways are there. All these things in the later session. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching the video. If you like this session, please comment and share this video. If you don't want to miss my upcoming videos, please subscribe to the channel.